Next have under old business, this is business at 750 Old Stage Road. Is those folks here? You can come up and state your name, please.
Sandra Early.
Did you spell your last name?
Earley.
Okay. Let's state your, what we were going to discuss, changing the distance, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Chad, you want to take it from there?
Current regulations, 1,200 feet from a church or a school to be able to serve alcohol on premises. We measured her distance, she's approximately 855 feet from the nearest church. So that's where we're at on this. We sent out letters to all the adjoining property owners to let them know that this was going to be discussed tonight. So that's where we're at on it.
Okay. And where we at Volunteer High School, if, so
The
you're,
business at Volunteer High School that we talked about last meeting, I went out and measured it. It's approximately 59 feet from the corner of the high school to that property.
okay, so she needs hers, in order to qualify, she needs our distance changed from
Or from
1,200
to 800 feet.
to 800 feet. So then if we change that, then that would allow a restaurant next to Volunteer High School to apply,
If they chose to, yes, sir.
chose to and get a beer permit.
Yes.
Because, and how far is that restaurant from Volunteer High School?
959 feet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go right.
Yeah, this is the gentleman back there.
Yes, sir. Could you state your name and address, please?
Yes, Jerry Cobb, live at 715 Old Stage Road. From what I understand, this beer permit is one at the old karate shop, is that right? Okay. I live probably 200 feet from there, and I gotta be honest with you, I was a little bit miffed because I didn't receive a letter. And a letter about this meeting this evening. Also, my neighbor to the left of me did not receive anything. My neighbor here to the right of me did. So I just wanted to know, what are they wanting to open? This is, you walk into my driveway, you see this place, which brings up concerns to me. It is like 850, feet from the church, but it's like 200 feet from me. So I came here tonight just to find out what it is. We looking at a nightclub? Are we looking at a restaurant wanting to serve beer with meals? But there again too, I had no idea anything had any intention of going in there if my neighbor hadn't found out about it.
I can answer that for you. We're putting in an upscale bar and grill with a full restaurant, food served on both sides, a separate restaurant from the bar. They're connected together, however, they're separate. And it's gonna be all brand new, everything nice. We're not opening a wild nightclub, anything like that. We're past all that. We just wanna open something nice.
Anyone else?
Yeah, maybe ask a follow-up question. My name is Brandon Lawson, 711 Old Stage Road. So what time will you be closing and what days of the week do you plan to be open?
Well, we're still working on that, but I'm thinking midnight at the latest. We can't even serve beer after midnight anyway in the ordinance. So,
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. You can't serve after midnight?
not beer in the ordinance, correct?
That's correct.
Correct, yeah, not after 12, midnight, yeah.
Okay.
And So it would never be past that because we can't serve alcohol past that.
I guess just to follow the concerns of my neighbor, when we walk out in our property, we can see the church that's in question here, as well as the property that you've purchased. So on Sundays, whenever the church has their activities, we can hear that. And also, we anticipate hearing noise from that establishment as well. I guess that's the first concern. But maybe the second concern would just be that you're also less than a quarter of a mile from the elementary school. And I think that although people don't live in the vicinity, there are people that should have received this letter that maybe had children that went to school there. They didn't receive the letter, I'm sure, so maybe more people would show up tonight. Also, there's no other business on the road, so it's a residential neighborhood, which I think makes that different than the business on close to Volunteer. I believe that's on 11W. Is that correct? No,
It's actually on Volunteer Street.
Volunteer Street. Okay. It's a residential neighborhood. There's no other business, so it does seem seems not like
We are
the
zone B3 for business.
the
commercial
correct
property,
place.
so.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like the right type of place to have this kind of business. So I'll just express that. So
Thank you.
thank you.
We'll go here, Mr. Darby.
Well, she's asking that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen consider amending its restrictions with regard to the distance requirement. That's certainly the discretion of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. If someone would have to make a motion to amend that and second it, if it's moved and seconded, there would be a discussion by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen with regard to the merits of amending the distance ordinance and then a vote.
Can I add, just for your information, what they want is a beer license. They also have the option of getting a liquor license from the state that the city of Churchill would not have control over if we chose not to make this change so that she can have a beer license. And if they can't get the beer license and they choose to get a liquor license, then we have no control over it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
For the citizens that did come that didn't receive a letter, could we explain what letters we did send out? I think we put it as public notice, and I think we decided to send letters to the immediate neighbors maybe, and maybe it didn't go out far enough, but we did put it as public notice because we wanted the input from the citizens and the neighbors to see what they thought of it, whether they thought it'd be a good idea or not.
The concern there is that,
We live further away than the two neighbors that didn't receive the letter, so
Right, but we wanted anybody in the city of Churchill to come and express their concerns, whether up or down, yea or nay.
And we did post it in the paper.
we did twice.
Sorry, I'm sorry. One other thing, I forgot to mention this. I have a neighbor that, it's actually Jerry's neighbor. He lives on the other side of where Jerry lives, so that would be the property that is directly in front of your property there. So he couldn't be here tonight, but he did express concern in a couple of things. Number one, it's a field that he mows for hay. Number two, that your parking lot situation is very small. Number three, there
Can I
will be.
stop you right there?
No,
We purchased the property next door. We own that now.
that
The field. We bought that
we
from
do.
Marine Corps.
across the street from.
Yes, sir. We bought that for parking.
Right
Yes,
next
sir.
door. That
We
empty
bought that
lot.
from Marine Corps.
We bought it.
Next door.
We're talking about the one across the street.
Oh, across the street. Okay, not next to our building?
No,
Okay,
Across
so,
Old Stage Road.
okay,
The
so
one
what
at-
does that have to do with the parking? I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
yeah. So what? A couple concerns. Number one, that people may use that field to turn around, or number two, people may choose to pull off. It's very convenient for that type of thing. They may pull off and park. Number three, if this person or honestly any of us in the vicinity, very close neighboring properties decide that they want to sell their home, honestly, nobody wants to buy a property across the street from a bar. right? So
It's
that's,
zoned that way, I mean, that's why we bought it, because it was zoned that way, zoned commercial.
Yeah,
And there's not
yeah.
a parking problem, there people aren't gonna be parking on the
Right.
side of the road, because we did purchase the whole lot next door for parking, so we
Sure.
have plenty of parking.
Sure, that doesn't affect me. I'm just expressing that on behalf of my neighbor. I will say, if you're gonna vote on this, it sounds like we all want to do this. But if you decide to vote, I do have maybe some compromises that we'd also like to request. I don't know if now is the time for that, but we would like to request some compromises. So,
Well, right now, we've not even got it on the floor, so it's up to the board if they want to make a motion to put it on the floor.
okay, thank you.
I make a motion to put it on the floor.
We have a motion, you have a second?
The motion needs to just state some particularity, like, I move that we amend the distance ordinance from 1,200 feet to X.
I'll add this for a second, if it's okay, since we're in discussion a little bit about this. You know, my job is to, as an elected official, is to listen to the concerns. That's what my job is, and it's also a passion of mine to make sure that you all as citizens are educated. So in going back, and you and I talked, Mr. Lawson, outside for just a few minutes, but I want to make sure that everybody understands, because you voiced your concerns, what is going on around this. So you had voiced concerns about noises and the volume and things, and you know, that's governed and regulated by our city's noise ordinance. The residential area around it is governed and regulated by our zoning ordinances. And although it never has been a bar, and I understand that, and I completely get that concern, you know, it has been zoned business since before, as long as I can remember. I've lived in this city for 37 years. So we can't, I feel that we would be negligent to ignore that fact exists as well. You know, so as I already stated to you, the same as if the church's noises, and trying to keep one side or the other out of things. You know, there could be some neighbors that did not like the noise that the church puts on with events. There could be some neighbors who don't like the noise that the bar puts on from events and things. So those are all regulated with the rules and the things that we have in place as a city. My concern, and Kathy touched on it just a minute, my concern is that if you give me the option to have some control or no control over what happens in this business, I'm always, for the sake of this city and as an elected official, going to choose to have some control. So if we do not put this into motion to allow Ms. Early at least an opportunity to start this business and to have this beer permit, I feel very confident with the investment that her and her sister have at this point. They're going to open this business irregardless. And whether we give her a beer permit or not, or again, let me back up. We can't vote to give her a beer permit. That's not what's on the table. What we vote for is to change the distance, and then the beer board has the authority to issue the permit. So we're not voting tonight to give her the beer permit. We're voting whether or not we're changing the distance that would allow her to have one. And yes, it will also allow El Patrio, if they want to apply for one. I had a very lengthy discussion with Mr. Hernandez, and he doesn't intend to. That doesn't mean it never will. Doesn't mean if somebody buys the business from him that they never will. I don't know. But again, from day one, setting aside whether I drink or don't drink, or anybody on this board or anybody in this audience, that's not my concern at this point. My concern is, do we, as a city, allow this board of 7 people to maintain some control or no control? Because she can, as Kathy has already mentioned, she can go to the state, and as long as, and I don't know, I know you from what brief interactions we've had. I don't know if you can pass a background check or not. I mean, I'm not saying you could or could, right? I don't know those things.
Right.
But she has to meet certain regulations in order to get a liquor license, because the county allows that, and the state would allow that if she passes all that criteria. And so if she wants to do that, she can do that. The only difference that will be on the floor, for lack of better words, is can she serve 5% beer or less? Otherwise, if she chooses to and gets granted the liquor permit and all that kind of stuff, she can choose 5% or more. So that's all this city has control over if we change that distance to allow her to do that. So I just, again, I'm not trying to express my opinion one way or the other. I'm just wanting, I think it's important that you and the others are educated as to what we as a city would have the options and control of doing. So I apologize if other property owners didn't get the letter. It was my understanding that everybody was going to get blanketed with the letter, so I'm somewhat concerned about that. But if we put it in public notice, that's technically all we're required to do, but it was my understanding we was going to send it out to everyone that had joined, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Okay.
We have a motion, to change the distance.
We just need to what?
Clarify, I make a motion to change the distance from 1,200 feet from a church or school to, what did you say?
For her to fit, you're going to have to be at least 800.
800 then?
Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
We have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, now we're open for discussion. And the only thing I'm gonna say about this matter is you better caution yourself. You are going to 800 feet. So because of the high school down there, if they come and file for a beer permit, right, Mr. Attorney? If we change this, then we have to give it to them, right?
Well, so the beer board.
Well, the beer board
The
does,
beer
we
board
don't.
is the one that
Yeah.
determines whether to issue a permit, but if the applicant meets all those requirements, including getting a certificate of good standing
Yeah.
from the chief of police and the other requirements in the ordinance, then the beer board really doesn't have the discretion at that point to
And
deny.
right now, the distance is 959 feet, right, Chad?
From that business to the school, yes.
Okay. Any more discussion?
So I'll clarify, the reason that I'm seconding Ms. Christian's motion is because I want some control over it. So whether it carries here or not, that it's not because I want to go down there and drink or do whatever, because I know what assumptions do. And I know that, you know, I go up the road to Fats or Cheddar's or Charlie's or any of the rest of these restaurants who have this same type of setting that she's proposing. So I would feel like I would be hypocritical not to support a local business and allow it if she's going to go the other direction, and I feel very confident she will. And so I would rather, again, maintain some control than nothing. So.
Any more discussion?
Chad, what are the distance, you mentioned in the last meeting about from other cities? Do you remember?
Thank you.
I can tell you that. I know them by heart. Rogersville is 250 feet, Gordonsville is 300 feet, and Mount Carmel is 400 feet.
So we're still maintaining double the distance at 800.
Exactly.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Mayor, am I allowed to make another suggestion or request anything? Is the floor open or no?
I think we need to, well, I mean, you can suggest, yeah, anything, but.
It's my first day, I'm sorry.
We've got a motion and a second in the discussion of the VMA. So, I guess we need to vote, and then if you want to make a recommendation, but, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, go ahead, I mean,
It sounds like it doesn't matter, so. It's
no,
okay.
that's not, yeah, okay, well, maybe, I don't know. Okay, we have motion second. Mr. Turner?
You do need to take action on that motion, but the city has vast leeway to set in restrictions of any type. That in which it doesn't just have to be the distance restriction, it can be time served, meals. I mean, these are things that everyone knows. And it sounds like that's what he was approaching. I just want the board to be aware of that this motion is on the floor.
Okay, call the roll, Vicky.
Kathy Christian,
Yes.
Keith Gibson,
Yes.
James Grigsby,
No.
Buck Tipton, Michael Walker,
Yes.
Michael Bell,
No.
Dennis Terry.
No.